what's going on, everybody? Hope you're all having a fantastic day today. Now, ladies and gentlemen, just a little bit earlier, EA DICE came out with some patch notes moving into the open beta for Battlefield 6. And they actually made some freaking massive changes. Changes that I cannot wait to go ahead and discuss because it's going to change up a lot of stuff that we know about Battlefield. And personally, I think it's for the better. But ladies and gentlemen, before we go ahead and hop into the overall topic, I do want to mention the open beta for Battlefield 6 is now officially available on, I think, all platforms, Steam, EA. So of course, make sure you guys go ahead and download that. And if I'm not mistaken, if you did get an access code for Battlefield 6, the closed beta, if you put it in, I think all you got to do is just download the open beta application. But again, if there's anyone out there with more information or more knowledge on how this is going to be working, how, you get closed access, open access, so on and so forth, if you guys have anything else, just leave it down in the comment section below and help one another out. But with that being said, let's go ahead and hop into the patch notes. First and foremost, when it comes to open beta, we indeed are going to be seeing two different, playlists. One for closed weapons and one for open weapons. And I believe the closed weapons is going to be for Conquest, they say, within this open beta. Again, they encourage everybody to try out both playlists. Let them know what you guys think, if you prefer closed or open weapons. Personally, I'm going to be honest, I think that it should just simply boil down to the closed weapons that are going to be like Battlefield 4, which is exactly what's going to be in Battlefield 6, and then allowing people, if they want open weapons, to use whatever they want, they can go into Portal and make their own custom servers. They can still go ahead and earn the exact XP rate that they should be earning. I personally believe that would be the best way of handling things, but again, only time can tell. We'll see when the open beta launches and what everybody decides to go ahead and stick with when both playlists are active to everyone in the community. The devs have also been studying how players are playing amongst all the maps within the games, the paths, hot zones, so on and so forth, and they are making a decent amount of adjustments moving into open beta when it comes to cover, the size of the zones, the look of some of the zones, repositioning some turret locations, all of the above. So I'm very excited to see what they go ahead and do with this, and it's also great to see that they are, really trying to fine-tune the maps, because that was one of the worst parts of Battlefield 2042, and I think it's something that everybody is scared of. But the fact that they're still pushing, and they're also planning on pushing even further after the open beta, so there's going to be more improvements after we all get it tested out and leave our opinions. This is the mentality that we want to be in. They also said in Domination they're adding in a revive mechanic. I thought it was already in. I don't know. Like I said, I never got to play labs. This is going to be my first time playing it once the closed version of the beta comes into access. But back in all the other ones, you could pretty much revive if you're a medic. I don't know how it is in Battlefield 6, but for anybody that played the lab, you can now revive people within Domination. The devs also went ahead and messed around with some of the weapons as well, because, if you guys saw, SMGs and shotguns were ridiculous. SMGs were outgunning some ARs at really interesting ranges. And shotguns, let's not even go ahead and discuss the shotguns. So I'm very curious to see where the weapon balancing stands when the open beta launches, or even the closed beta. And hopefully we can, continuously work on from there. They also went ahead and improved the UI of the overall customization system to further, encourage people to pick weapons that kind of line up with the classes that they're best with. I guess it didn't really represent too well within, the lab or earlier versions of this game. And they're trying to improve that, so I guess when more casuals hop into the overall experience, they understand that certain weapons should be prioritized for certain classes, and they'll also give you benefits as well. And that's the last point here. They are going to be adding in those special bonuses for, synchronizing weapons with classes. Now, that's strange because I could have sworn I read this a while ago, and I actually discussed this in a video previously. Maybe it wasn't in the lab. As I stated before, I didn't get to play it, so I don't know. But moving into the open beta, you are going to be getting signature traits if you, again, synchronize weapons with specific classes. Next up here, ladies and gentlemen, is probably what I've been the most excited about to discuss with you guys regarding these patch notes, and that is the rearrangements to some of the classes. But more specifically, the Assault class here. They're making a lot of changes to this class that, dare I say, will make Assault a little bit more team-oriented, but still, the front of the spear for trying to get up into combat and clear out zones, which I think they did a pretty decent job with. First and foremost, again, the Adrenaline Injector. For those who remember, it gave you health. Now, I gotta be honest with you, I didn't really mind that too much because you only got like one of them, and if you wanted another, you needed a medic. So regardless, you're still going to rely on having medics on your team to help you out with health and also to go ahead and resupply your stims. But they rearranged that, and they turned it into more of a Well, basically not for health. I'm just going to read it off specifically here so you guys know everything. It's going to allow you to have resistance to flash and stun effects, enhances tolerance to explosive and incendiary damage, and improves movement speed. Honestly, I don't think these are that bad. I'll kind of take that, and I could see it being more of something that you use before getting into combat or when you need to get out of combat. Not really to help you, stim up, get your health back, and win an engagement when you jump around a corner type of deal. You'll probably still have to fall back and, get a medic, but it will help you in that fallback phase with improved movement speeds, and also, again, being able to resist certain things like stuns, fire, so on and so forth. Not too shabby. They're also going ahead and changing the signature trait for the Assault class. Beforehand, it was enhanced mobility, and now it is commanding presence. Basically, this trait's going to allow you and your squad mates to capture objectives a little bit faster, and also it's going to take you out of combat status faster, which again is going to be more team-oriented. Instead of it being more hyper-prioritized around you and only you, it's all for basically the squad. And then the gadgets, ladies and gentlemen. This is what I'm most excited about, and I feel like it's going to be controversial. Some might not like this, but I'm going to be honest. I think it's amazing. The spawn beacon is now going to be on the Assault class instead of the Recon class. Again, I know some people are going to say this is a little too much, but I think this fits perfectly. Let's be honest, spawn beacons are supposed to be put down to give you strategic flanks and to, help you out getting back into the action extra fast. And every single time I have a Recon player that's using a sniper rifle, let's be real, the spawn beacons aren't there. The best spawn beacon placements are when you are with someone who's using, a rifle or an SMG or something where they're up in the action and they can really dig deep and find those spots. Those have been all of my personal, best spawn beacon placements. And I think that this is a good move because the Assault class lines up for exactly that, and it also adds that extra bit of team play. And the way they're trying to counter it being a solo type of gadget is basically if you spawn on the spawn beacon, it destroys itself. Now, I'll be honest with you guys, I don't think that's going to counter anything because what's holding people back from spawning on their own spawn beacon and just looking down and putting it in the exact same spot? I don't know. We'll see. But then for your squad mates, they can spawn on the spawn beacon for an infinite amount of times. So basically, the whole mentality at DICE was, your squad mates spawn there, and then you, the person who put down the beacon, spawns on your squad mates. But as I stated, what's holding you back from just spawning on the beacon and then just putting another one down right there? I don't know how they're going to, balance all that stuff out. But personally, I think that this is a good move. And for me personally, I can get a lot of great spots for my team. And this will help me encourage my team to get some really good, locations by the objective and get some good wins. Because a lot of things that scare off casuals is spawning in, having to run around. But if you have a good teammate that can dig deep and get these beacons down, it's going to encourage your teammates to be active on the zones. And that's what it's all about. So honestly, I'm pretty excited for this one. And then their final gadget is the ladder, which is actually a two-part gadget. We saw a little bit of this in the reveal trailer, which I mentioned in my video of my, me talking about the reveal. But it has two different versions. Apparently, there's a ladder version where it's an actual ladder. And then there's the ramp version, which is what we saw in the reveal. And that's pretty awesome if you ask me. And I'm actually really excited to go ahead and see what this is all about. Now, when it comes down to the engineer class, they're actually pretty happy with where it stands. And of course, they're going to be taking more feedback throughout the open beta, and they want people to, give information on what they think needs to be improved. But for the time being, probably not much is changing. And for support, they actually have a couple of things they are focusing on. They state, we are focusing on the refresh rate of supply crates and how well the support's signature weapon buffs contribute to the flow of the game. We want to ensure that support players feel essential to their squads, both in keeping teammates supplied and in boosting overall combat efficiency. So I guess, obviously, when open beta comes on out, we can give our feedback on both of those features, and hopefully we can see some good changes moving forward. And then for the Recon class, they went ahead and removed one of the training paths, Pathfinder, and replaced it with Spec Ops. And in this training path, you have three separate options. Firstly, your base class training, available from the start and allows quieter takedowns, crouch, and prone movement. Then Spec Ops 1, spots nearby enemy gadgets, except when sprinting. And then Spec Ops 2, going prone takes you out of combat much faster and removes the spot on self, which actually sounds pretty dang nice. And sadly, from what I can see, they still have the signature trait aim spotting, which automatically spots enemies while you're aiming down sights. I still think that this should be reevaluated, because if they are going to be having the classic Battlefield 4 class system, you can still run around with some fully automatic weapons. And I just think having a fully automatic weapon with a class, signature attribute that allows you to spot people, everybody that you aim at. I mean, my goodness, especially if you're really good, that's going to be it's going to be pretty crazy. But we'll see. Again, until I at least get personally, hands on and I can try everything out, who knows? Maybe it's not that crazy in the first place. We'll just have to find out. But ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty much all I have for you guys. Those are the patch notes. Again, the beta is coming up in about, I would say, a couple of days here, because this is a second upload, a double upload on the channel. So this is coming out probably around 5 p.m. on the 4th of August. And I believe the closed beta access starts on the 7th. So we're going to be giving it a good shot. Again, I'll be streaming it if you guys want to tune on into my streams. I'm live on Twitch pretty much, Monday through Saturday. And again, this week I will be live Sunday as well, starting between 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern time usually, unless, some hot news comes out and I have to double upload or something, or I'm running into, a little bit of an issue. But usually we're pretty on point when it comes down to the streams. And guys, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell, because I do discuss everything Battlefield here, along with Call of Duty, Splitgate 2, Arc Raiders, and any other shooters that come out into the future that, kind of catch my interest. I'd love to cover them all. So if you guys like that variety content, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell. But ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you all for tuning in, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.